Guys, welcome back to Unhospitality. I'm very excited to welcome my friend Ashelyn Roberts Wilson to the episode today. She is a young go getter. I knew when I met Ashelyn that we were going to hit it off. She has such a beautiful spirit about her. She's driven, and she's got this righteous chip on her shoulder as a young entrepreneur. Because she's been overlooked at times in her career, she has such a passion to represent other people and make sure that they're not overlooked. She shows up in this world in a very beautiful way. I'm thrilled to welcome her to the podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you can do me a solid and head to YouTube, make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, check us out on LinkedIn, trying to get the popularity and the word of the podcast out there. It's been a very fun venture, and I hope you feel the same way. Spread the word. So without further ado, here's Ashelyn.
Unhospitality, the #1 podcast in the world.
Welcome to Unhospitality, folks. I'm here with my very good friend, Ashelyn Roberts Wilson. Ashelyn and I have known each other for, we were trying to figure out earlier, like 10, 11, maybe
Yeah,
12
12,
years,
yeah.
something like that.
Mhm.
Welcome to Unhospitality, the untold stories of hospitality, Ashelyn Roberts Wilson.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Tell me a little bit about yourself. I mean, I obviously know your history and where you come from, but why don't you tell our listeners your path to hospitality, what you do now, and how you got here?
Mhm. Yeah. I know Jeremy through Conference Direct is the company that we both are affiliated with, and I started out at the company pretty young. I was 21, fresh and green. No idea what I was doing, but I majored in hospitality in college. Um, and so I worked kind of in an event technology component at that time, really just getting my boots on the ground, all of that foundational experience. Um, and then grew and became a meeting planner. Did that for a while. Then joined the hotel side for a couple of years, and then came back and I'm now at Conference Direct in a sourcing and contracting role. I've been about 8 years in this role. I love it. It is fun, keeps you on your toes, hard work, interesting. You get to see so many different places, different customers and clients, and yeah, that's
No
where I'm at
doubt.
right now.
So for the listener who might not understand, when you say sourcing and contracting, what is it that you
Yep.
do for your clients and exactly what role do you play?
Yes. So what I do for my clients, let's take an example. If my client comes to me and says, Ashlyn, I need help because I want to have an event in Austin and it's going to be 200 people. What I do then is kind of act in a consultative way and say, okay, sounds like you have 200 people. What kind of room rate are you looking for? What is the demographic of your audience? Are you looking for a 5-star property, a 3-star property? I kind of gather all of that information from them and get a good idea of what they are looking for.
Defining the
And then
event parameters and what kind of hotel they're looking for, what kind of event it is, right?
exactly, yep,
Okay.
just kind of getting all the information that I can. And then from there, it's my job to be an expert and suggest properties to them, go out into the different destinations and say, okay, based on my expertise, this property would be a good fit. This one has too much space. They might feel really small in this property because the hotel's too big. And then I negotiate their contract for the event, for all of the food and beverage, all of the guest rooms, and all of those things. And then I'm just there as to be a consultant and support them throughout the entire experience through the event happening.
Awesome. So putting the client with their ideal hotel for you
Exactly.
figure out all the factors and then put them together.
Yep. I'm a connector.
That's a great way to put it. I love that, connecting. Now, you were on the hotel side, though. You spent 2 years on the hotel
Hmm.
side in
Yep.
Seattle, correct?
I did. Yep.
What was that experience like coming from, you weren't sourcing at the time when you were with Conference Direct, you were working more in events. You went to the hotel side, you joined Conference Direct yet again as someone
Hmm.
who's doing contracting and sourcing. What was your experience
Hmm.
like on the hotel side and how do you carry that into your role today?
That is a fantastic question. I think one small thing to be said prior to that is that most of the people that are in my role at Conference Direct, they spend all of their career up until this point in the hotel, whether that's in sales, events, whatever that may be. I my story is unique just because I did it kind of opposite. I started in the event planning space and the event technology and and sponsorship and things like that. And then I went to the other side, we call it the other side being the hotel. It was very interesting for me because I think the most notable thing that I found is that the life cycle is so much longer with internal events than it is on the hotel side. I was so used to planning events, talking to people a year, 2 years in advance, knowing all of my guests, all of my attendees, communicating with them regularly, getting their feedback, um, all the way through until the event ended. And when I went to the hotel side, I was a little bit surprised because, I only really engaged with the customer maybe a couple months in advance, unless it was a really huge event, of course, that would need more lead time. But um, and that made me sad. Like I felt like I didn't even get a chance to know the customer or the group or anything before they were over. And then
Interesting.
from there, there's no real post event relationship there long term other than rebooking. Like I had in my previous role, it just felt like, okay, I knew this person for 6 months and now it's done. And I like the building of relationship aspect, and that was something very important to me that I felt like I was being unfulfilled in.
You know, it's funny because even if you do, let's say hypothetically, you do develop a relationship with a client when you're in the hotel role for a year, year and a half, and you're sticking with that person. Say you maybe you're selling it and then you're servicing it. It's not
Mhm,
uncommon for that to happen. you
mhm,
know, Even if you develop a great relationship with them, the difference between I think being on the hotel side versus being on the client side is once that event is done, unless they're repeating your hotel, that relationship doesn't carry forward from there. It's a one and done
exactly.
event. There are times in certain groups that will repeat and come back year after year and you develop a long-term relationship. What I love about what we do representing our clients is we take that relationship around the world, various events throughout the year, and over the years we continue to have that relationship with our clients. So we talk about being invested in relationships and knowing your clients and their events like the back of your hand. That's the part I really enjoy about this side of things, that the relationships carry well beyond just one event. It's you're covering all of their events. You're covering any place that they go in the world. And that to me is very fulfilling and very rewarding to have those kind of
Absolutely.
relationships. Yeah.
I have clients that have been, or I have colleagues who have been in their clients' weddings.
There
It
you go.
really is truly that type of relationship over years and years of doing this, becoming part of that family. It really does create those ties that um, are really hard to break after so many years.
Absolutely. That's really cool about relationships and carrying forward. Though something I've always admired about you. I met you. I don't think I was. You were not much more than 21 when we did meet. Your drive and your passion at that young age. I could tell. I don't know if it's related to your studies and you just had a super passion for hospitality from your studies, or if it's just how you're wired. But I see you as such a go getter and a driver. Where does that energy come from, and how do you find your way through? And may I even say too, as a young female in any space, but you always seem to have this presence about you that you were assured, not cocky or arrogant, but just very assured in who you were. Talk more about that.
Mm, God, there's so much to say about this. And it's actually funny that you bring this up because it does kind of lead into something that I was also interested in talking about. But um, I'm a type A person. I always have been. And to be completely honest, I was not the greatest student. I wasn't, a straight A student. I was much more um, in the moment, figure it out. That type of person. I worked much better in real life situations than testing.
Did you have a lot of
Um,
practice while you were studying? Was it hands-on stuff? Were you doing like was it all academic, or were you actually in the field at any point as part of your studies?
Yeah, we were in the field some. We did a couple of like community events and kind of planned those and set up for them and that kind of thing.
Okay,
I actually had a professor that gave us a star report and things like that and talked all about that. And so, of course, at the time, I was like, "What is he talking about?" But
sure.
now it makes sense. And we even like took a pre CMP prep tests, which was really cool. So I had a strong program. Um, but to touch back, I think on the ambition part of it, I think it is just something that is so innate in me, that I want to be successful. I like a challenge, and I like being underestimated and then overcoming and proving that. Um, but specifically, it does make me think. I'm one of 3 girls. My dad is a girl dad, like, through and through. Um, and I always like to say that my dad taught me how to swing a hammer and break the glass ceiling
Nice.
because
I like that.
he's always been, he's very high in the corporate world, he's in finance, that kind of thing, and he's always kept me grounded in the way, Ashlyn, money and success is not what it's all about. It's about, your relationships and your work life balance. But he made it very clear to me, you can do anything you want.
Good for him.
If you want to be successful, if you want to be this, if you want to be a musician, if you want to work hard, Ashlyn, work hard and you can do it. I believe in you. You are fully capable. And that type of foundational like belief and support changed my life.
Yeah.
It is I'm forever grateful for him being so supportive, but I truly believe that I didn't even question whether I could do it, which is, maybe I probably should have, but I was like, well, my dad said I could do it, so I'm gonna do it,
Good for you, though. I think
Yeah.
sometimes we get paralyzed in fear because we don't have all the
Yes.
answers before we start. So we don't start something that we could easily achieve, we could easily accomplish. Maybe not easily,
Mhm.
that's the wrong way to put it. We can accomplish it, but we don't because we fear we don't have all of the steps in place. And I'm a big fan of, you just need enough light for the next step. You don't need all of them. And just you're never going to be perfect at the start. You gain
No.
perfection as you go along and you do it, but you got to get in the game and you got to do it. So you mentioned, being underestimated. Do you have examples of that where something comes to mind where you feel like you were perhaps overlooked or discounted because of your youth or your inexperience? Where some of those moments where you feel like you really had to rise and tap into your dad's encouragement?
Yeah. Um, you know, a common theme throughout my career is that I am always the youngest in the room because of that.
It used to be
Because of that.
mine too, by the way. You'll get there someday.
See, there's a reason that we
God
connect
willing.
on a lot of these things.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm
Um,
saying is I'm getting old is what I mean. So
oh yeah,
now I
well,
walk in a
I
room
mean
and I'm
me
like,
too
wait a minute,
though.
I'm not the youngest one. I think I'm the oldest one here. Anyway, go on, go on.
I know, I'm like, people were born after 2000, like
Crazy. And
crazy
they're in the
things.
workforce.
Yes, yes. So one of the one of the strongest, I guess, through lines in my career is that I'm almost always the youngest in the room. That is an incredibly difficult position to be in when you are young and don't have the confidence yet. I can tell that I spent a lot of my earlier years, maybe overcompensating, trying to be something, the whole fake it till you make it type of concept. I think there is a place for that, and in a way that you have to present yourself as though you believe in yourself. That totally get. But you don't realize at the time when you're doing that you make yourself look less experienced and younger because you are not willing to be humble and learn and grow. Being with the company that we're at, it does have a lot of deep roots and ties and history across the industry, no matter if it's with an organization, a corporation, or with a hotel brand. And a lot of times I get this kind of, oh, well, I'm sure you don't know any of the people that I know,
Hmm.
or oh, I'm sure you don't even remember that. I knew so and so for that. I used to teach them and I used to do this and that. And the irony of it is that 99% of the time I do know those people. um, but also it just why do we have to make people feel small? And for me, the people that believed in me and helped me um grow in those areas, I've always appreciated that they recognized my potential and capabilities and they didn't discount. And that is such a common experience. Um, there, for example, there was one time when I was very young, I was in a role, and I was curious about what my path, my upward mobility looked like. What are my options here? This seems to be where I'm starting, and I'm coming in fresh, green, excited. Oh, I want to do this. Maybe one day I'll want to do this. What are this and that? And one of the leaders, when I asked that, said to me, "You'll never do that, Ashlyn.
Mm,
You'll never do that."
ouch.
Yeah. And I don't know if I was more hurt or angry, to be honest. I
Sure.
think a mix of both.
Yeah.
Because how dare you
Yeah.
tell
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
that I can't do something? You don't know anything about me. You don't know what my capabilities are. I just got here, you
Yeah.
know? And there's a reason you hired me, is the
Yeah.
other thing. You hired me because you saw potential. If you crush that, for a young, new, upcoming professional, then you're not going to retain talent
Yeah.
over the years down the
Yeah.
road. So, um, that was one of those specific situations where I look back, and, wow, man, that was just not fair.
Sure. I can remember the leaders of my career who celebrated when I left them. I tried to be that
Yes,
kind of leader myself, not because
absolutely.
and when I say leave, outgrew the position, achieved more,
Mhm,
and went on to the next role that called for greater, experience, or it was a step up essentially. Those
mhm,
leaders that celebrated my growth were the ones that I'll run through a wall for, and I've always tried whenever I was in a leadership role, tried to be the same person to empower people and get out of the way. Like do your job, whatever you need for my support, you're leading. You lead the team in the direction you want to go. My job is to give you all the tools necessary and to fight the battles up above our heads that might prevent you from being the best you can be. That's how I've always tried to approach that. It's interesting you had to fight that and kind of hear that kind of you'll never do that. To me, when I ever heard that, and it sounds like you had the same kind of you're built from the same material here. That almost is like watch me do it. Like give me like you want to tell me I can't
well,
do it? Go ahead.
so that's actually where I was going next with it, is that
Go.
I had actually, I have recently in the past couple years seen that individual at,
Uh-huh.
trade shows that I've been at, and there's no greater joy to me than to say, "Here I am.
Good for you. Good
Here
for
I am.
you.
You were wrong."
A very subtle middle
And,
finger back at the haters, right?
yeah, exactly.
They say that the best
That's
revenge is
exactly
a
right.
life well lived, you know?
Exactly.
You keep doing you, you put your head down and keep working, and that's the best way to kind of clap back at the haters, I'd say.
It is.
Good for you. Now you're a new mom.
I
You're
am, yeah.
very exciting stuff, the growing family. Congratulations. How
Thank you.
old?
19 months.
19 months. So yeah, you're a year and a half into this whole thing. How have you found balancing your workload with your family responsibilities? What's your North Star? It's not easy as a young person in general. Now you're a young mom. You have obviously your responsibilities are divided. How do you balance that, the responsibility to the home with an entrepreneur, a budding business and an entrepreneurial role?
The answer to that question is I don't balance
Okay.
it very well.
Go on. Tell me more.
That's the goal, that's what I would love to be able to do. Obviously, my North Star is my family, my beautiful son, Parker, 19 months, and he's the light of my life. You don't know until you do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's this constant battle of this continual, like I mentioned to you, being a type A person, go-getter, being a like it just I the success and the challenge and the accomplishment just really does it for me.
Yeah.
And being that having that as one part of who I am, and then having the other part of who I am, wishing that I could give equally in those areas to my son and my family, and be there for every single T-ball game or whatever it is, or not have to have full-time childcare. That's one that I struggle with quite a bit, is that I don't wanna miss his life. And so there's a lot that goes into trying to figure it out. And if I'm honest, I am working through that active right
Yeah.
now. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what the next step is in the direction for my business and how what I want from it. How do I get the best of both worlds?
Sure. It's funny. I have found this as a theme throughout my career too. Defining success for you. Don't let other people define what success looks like.
Hmm.
We had a conversation before jumping on this interview here. You know, how are you defining success? You can put more time and effort into your job and get more money, but that's time and effort you're taking away from other critical points of your life. Do you do you go headlong into earning more money, or do you go headlong into investing in your family? What's the balance? What's that perfect balance between the two? And how do you define success? I know a lot of very successful people when you look at their bank account, if that's the only way you define success, but that saying comes to mind too, that some people are so poor, the only thing they have is money. Like, there's no investment in personal relationships, there's no investment in their family. And that defining what success looks like to you, I think is such a critical step in then aligning your day to day and your goals accordingly. What do you think about
Yeah.
that? That sounds like what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Um, one of the things that I continue to remind myself of is that um, you don't get all the money for free. The thing that you are trading for the money is time,
Yeah,
and time is our most important, precious commodity.
no doubt.
Um, and so I really, it kind of comes down to, okay, I could take this project and make $10,000. Is that $10,000 what I'm willing to make in order to miss this D-ball game?
Yeah,
Um, is it worth $10,000? And it's not always like that. That sounds very cut and dry, very black and white. It's not. It's not that way. But just to put it in a perspective that is helpful to kind of keep you sharp when you think about that. As it relates to being a professional and a mother, my goals, I would say maybe I want to approach this from a goals perspective versus a success perspective, because to be
okay,
honest, I don't know necessarily what that looks like. I don't know
okay,
what I will feel is success down the road. My goals, however, are always to number one, I am a wife, a mother, a sister, a friend. I am all of those things. That enables my business to be successful
yeah,
because who I am creates the relationships, creates the clients, builds the trust with them.
yeah,
Now, in addition to that, I want to be an example for Parker. I want him to see a mom who was strong, who was brave, who didn't back down from a challenge, who worked hard and made a difference in people's lives. I want him to see that I did that and was able to be there for him, be present, be active in conversations with him. I have several clients that I love working with that I can tell value me and I value them. And also that my son um, is proud of his mom.
yeah.
It's like, wow, mom worked really hard and that means a lot to me
That's
and
awesome.
feels loved.
Who would you say have been some examples of that? Who do you look to as kind of, whether they be people within your world or somebody outside of that that you looked up to, that from a famous person standpoint, that you look and say, wow, I might not know them personally, but if I could point to it as an example, that's someone who I want to be. Or again, very personal, someone in your own circle.
That's a hard one. Honestly, you caught me off guard with that. Within my team at Conference Direct, plenty of women that I appreciate very much, women that have been mentors to me,
Yeah.
um,
Well, call
who
them
have
out. I
had
mean, is there something or someone or something, you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but is there a moment you've looked at someone and said, "Wow, they got it right there, and I want to do something similar."
so a couple that come to mind on my team. I love you both, so I didn't ask you for permission to talk about you, but Christy Heath is one that I admire and respect greatly. She has an extremely successful business. She's one of our top producers on our team and in the company. Her daughter is now involved with her business as well. I know Christy to be a very genuine, caring mother and friend and mentor to me, as well as an extremely professional businesswoman
That's
who
awesome.
does not take crap. She gets it done.
Yeah.
She stands up for herself and for her client.
Yeah.
As she said, she's strong, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that about her very much. It's a lot that I strive and hope to be one day. Um, Another I would say is Nikki Furyk Mullen. I'm not sure if you know her, but
I
she
know
is just
Nikki. She's
she's a
wonderful.
badass.
Yeah.
She's an absolute badass. I love
Yeah.
her. So, and I would say like when I think about age wise, that's probably kind of a step for me. So it's like me, and then probably next would be Nikki, and then further on down the career would be Christy. But once again, Nikki also has an exceptionally thriving business. She is somehow always on the road, um, and still involved and present in her children's lives, and her kids are getting a front row seat in pop. And that's
Yeah.
another thing I do want to kind of talk about a little bit, what how I feel about hospitality as it relates to my child. But I think I enjoy talking to her about her business.
Yeah.
Um, she gives me a lot of pointers, a lot of tips, and she's very intelligent. Like
Yeah.
she's sharp, and I love that. That's an inspiration to me.
Amazing. They say that success leaves breadcrumbs, right? There's people much smarter and much wiser and have come before us long before we ever got here, have given the road prior to. I think what you're talking to, and I love your approach, is this, finding those people who represent the life that you want and then digging in and asking them questions. Where are the breadcrumbs that they're leaving that you can follow in their footsteps? That's an awesome approach, I think. So you talk about your North Stars and your people who set a great example for the business and life balance that they've created. When you think of yourself, what drives you? What is something that really pulls you forward? And when you, apart from looking at another example, when you look inwardly, what do you see as your driver?
I see um, the empathy and care and kindness um, for other people, for our community as a whole in a large way. Um, that's what I want, and even if the way that I'm doing it looks maybe silly to someone just thinking, "Oh, Ashland plans parties or something." There's a lot of those kind of tropes out there. What I know is that when I facilitate people coming together and meeting, I am facilitating relationship. I am facilitating conversation. No matter what that conversation is about, I am facilitating connection. And personally, I think that there is no other way to move the needle in this country and in this world than with those small connections and conversations. We want to move that needle. I want to move that needle towards justice, equitability, kindness.
That's so beautiful. I hear, I'm, I don't know, 9 or 10 episodes into this podcast so far. I'm still searching for my own voice and what the tone of the podcast will take, and how I show up, how I encourage my guests to show up. You just hit the nail on the head as I've thought about the role that hospitality plays. First of all, I read a stat the other day that said 1 out of every 10 jobs is somehow related to travel or hospitality. 1 out of every 10 jobs in the world. It's 10% of all workers around the world are in hospitality. I say that because that's a pretty big chunk of people out there with a pretty big impact. With the crazy black and white, left and right in the US, GOP versus Dems, there's a dichotomy that comes in where somehow we lose the humanity in some of those conversations. We're quick to demonize other people. We're quick to cast people as one side or the other. When I think of hospitality, and you just hit the nail right on the head, it leans into facilitating relationships, facilitating conversations, having empathy for your neighbor, thinking about their needs first as we try to accomplish their goals, whether that be our clients, whether if you're a hotelier trying to do that. That idea of empathy, it speaks so loud. I love what you just said right there. When you talk about showing up or representation, I know you're very passionate about that too. And we've already touched on topics of you've seen successful women who have blazed a path for you. Talk a little bit more about your drive and your passion for equity, for inclusion in not only the event space, but I guess in general.
Man, that is so loaded. Uh, God, it feels helpless a lot of times when you're tackling huge concepts like that. You asked me um, what it was that is like my personal, I guess, definition of success or that kind of thing. And I'm realizing even as I kind of talk through it now, is that is the golden thread throughout my whole life. Really comes down to something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
That's what I want for my son. That's what I want. I want to raise a kind human. I want him to be a friend to others. I want him to stand up when somebody else can't stand up in the room. And I also want that in my career. So I think if I'm getting a more cohesive picture, I feel like throughout this conversation on honestly what some of my goals are and how I want to implement those throughout my business as well. I see so much hurt and injustice and stubbornness that is so frustrating to me because I feel like, just like I said a few minutes ago, the only way to move that needle is to have conversation. And I think we've become so diabolically opposed that we can't have a curious mind.
Yeah.
I think curiosity is really the key there of maybe this person thinks differently than me.
Yeah.
How can I approach a conversation with them, sharing how I feel about it in a respectful way and being open that I might learn something from them?
Yeah.
Even if I think they are bigoted, they are whatever it may be. Um, it's possible that if you give them an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves, you might actually find the root cause of some of those things
It's
and
amazing you say
continue.
that. I've never learned something, but maybe not never. I don't learn from people who are like me. I learn from people who are not like me.
That's exactly right.
People who have a different
Yes.
perspective. I remember when I was young, when I was this is now 30 plus years ago, I took a study in London for the summer.
Hmm.
And I was so cocksure. I was so smart in my own way. I was so arrogant in what I thought I knew. The way I put it is kind of an analogy. I get to the UK. We're not talking about a radically different society. I didn't move to, Jordan. I didn't move to, Shanghai. I moved to London. But even that difference between that society and the society I was growing up in, the way I put it is, I spent my whole life learning the rules of baseball and could give you chapter and verse as to what was legal and what wasn't in baseball and all the tactics. And you get to the UK and they're playing cricket. They don't care
Yeah.
about baseball. And it's
Right.
sometimes we build these silos up in our head. We're so sure of what we know. And then we realize sometimes these people aren't even having the conversations in within 4 miles of the silo that I'm in. I'm so damn sure of what I know. And it's so irrelevant to somebody else over there. And that's the place of learning right there. That's at least if we approach things just as you said with a curious mind, that's where we start to that's the beginning of understanding of learning. If anything that hospitality does where we're bringing people together from across borders, from whether that be across state borders, whether that be across country borders, and putting them in a room together to converse, that learning right there that's done, what we foster in this world, to me, it is the beginning of a more tame conversation around some of the more difficult things that we have to tackle as society. That's just my take
Hmm.
on things.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It's invaluable, honestly. What
Yeah.
what we do. No one else is going to do it. And so yeah, I think it's the small little steps, the small conversations, and really truly that curious mind is something that I focus on a lot. And I firmly and so deeply believe that travel changes people, travel changes the world. Travel creates change, growth, justice, equitability, all of the things that we're talking about right now. And that is so important to me as a mother. And part of the reason that I am excited to share my career with my son is that from a very young age, I have the opportunity to take him different places. We're in the hospitality and travel industry. I can take him to another country. He can learn, he can grow, he can see people that are different than him. He can try different food. He can grow a respect and an appreciation for cultures that are not his.
Yeah.
And so many times we get stuck in this bubble of what what we see and what we know is what is. And
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
There there's no reason that yours is any better than someone else's just because you haven't seen it. So I'm very passionate about that. That's like something I could get on a soapbox about.
I love it. We all have the same tools, right? We have to decide eventually, do we want to build bridges? Do we want to build walls? Do we want to
Hmm.
build longer tables and welcome more people in? Or do we want to build up higher fences to keep people out? I think that spirit of hospitality, of travel, is exactly that, is building bridges and building tables for more people to be included. I know you enough, and over the years, our conversations we've had, that we have that kindred spirit of connecting people and bringing them together, and to be able to do that in a professional way, earn money doing it, and make this our job, is something that I feel very, very fortunate to be able to do.
Absolutely. I consider myself so blessed every single day that there are so many people that wake up miserable and go to their job and they come home and they wish that they had a different job. And I say to myself every day, I work my ass off, but I love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
And to me, that's all I could ask for. I am so fortunate to have that experience professionally.
What an amazing way to bring this podcast to a close. Ashlyn, I'm so grateful that you came on to talk and share your stories. On hospitality, the untold stories of hospitality. We're the number one podcast in the world. Ha ha ha. You see what I did there?
Got it.
We're going to continue to broadcast every Friday, guys. Keep tuning in. Give us your like, your follow. All the comments are welcome. We want to hear from you as well, your stories within hospitality. Ashton, again, thank you so much for coming by and sharing your stories. Until the next time, guys, safe travels.
Thank you. Thank you so much.